Hi and welcome. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about soul recovery work. Really soul healing work is what I call it. So there are different types of soul healing work that you can do. The first I'd like to mention is soul recovery. And with a soul recovery, usually you're working with somebody else, maybe a shamanic practitioner or someone with a different training but still experience in this kind of work. And they guide you to recover a piece of your soul that got lost. And so perhaps there was a traumatic event in your childhood or at any point in your life. And when that happens, there's this shamanic concept that a piece of you, in order to keep you safe, in order to protect you, sort of breaks away. We call it soul loss. It's as if that piece is lost. Now we know that your soul is always intact and your soul is absolutely perfect and divine. But the human side of us can sometimes carry a trauma with us for a very long time. And it feels like a piece of us might be missing. It feels like a piece of our soul might be in hiding. Now, the trauma that can cause this is varies for every person. It could be a major event, a heinous crime perhaps that was visited upon you. It could be as simple as a dog bite or, being ridiculed in third grade. Maybe something terrible happened or that you perceive as terrible and the entire school ridiculed you. Whatever it is, there really is no different level of soul loss in this case. You will feel it deeply and it will have reverberations, repercussions, and create issues and problems throughout your life whenever something, situation, person shows up that you perceive as similar vibration to that traumatic event. So, as I said in the beginning, soul recovery is when someone works with you and helps guide you to recover that piece of the soul that seems to be missing. The other technique I'd like to talk about is soul retrieval. And in soul retrieval, it's a specific shamanic technique. And I would recommend it's usually done by a shamanic practitioner. There's a great book out there that can guide you through the different steps, and I'll put a link for that in the blog. I'll write a blog about this as well, and there'll be a link in there for that book. So soul recovery, it's a specific shamanic technique where the shaman actually goes into a shamanic journey and does the work of retrieving that soul piece. It often involves coaxing it back home, sort of like, come on, you got to come back. This person needs to feel whole in their human ego, identity, self. So it's work that we do. It's often work that takes a lot of coaxing. Sometimes that soul piece just doesn't want to come home because it's worried that it won't be safe. So the shaman's job is to reassure it that it will be safe, whatever that takes. In that work, the way I was trained, you not only bring back that piece of the soul to your client, you also rewrite the contract that was written at the moment of the trauma. You make a new pact for how that event is going to play out in their lives. And you can bring back a gift for them. Maybe it's a new spirit guide or just a little token, a gift that sort of seals and holds the container. It's like a blessing on the work, in my opinion. The other type of soul healing work that you can do is a technique that I learned when I was working with Shamanic Reiki Worldwide. And I learned this from Lynn Roberts, and she has a great book and explains everything in it. So I'll put a link to that in the blog as well. She calls it shape-shifting past events, shape-shifting the energy of past events. And really, it's kind of a soul loss prevention technique where the participant, the client, you go back to that event to sort of just before it's happening from the observer standpoint, and you work with your earlier self to stay whole and to not allow this to change the whole trajectory of your life. You let them know, I know this is hard for you right now, but you will get through it. You will survive this, and I need you to be whole and complete in the future, because you're going to stand up in front of thousands of people and be a public speaker and change the world. And so your fear of this third grade event cannot hold you back. Trust me, or whatever the situation is. That's soul loss prevention. It's shape-shifting the energy of past events. The other type, there's actually a fourth type that I have come across. I don't find much about it in reading, but you can see when it happens. It's a spontaneous soul recovery or soul retrieval. When someone has a sudden awakening, or they're shifted into a whole new awareness of the past event, the trauma that happened, and all of a sudden their whole life changes, and it's as if they had done all the work, but it's just this sudden, spontaneous soul recovery. It's really quite beautiful to see and to witness. So you might wonder, is any one of these four techniques better than the other? And I'd have to say no. None of them is better. The best one is the one that you do, the one that works for you, the one that gets done and makes you feel more whole and complete, and prevents or moves you beyond having the trauma affect the rest of your life and hold you back, really. So what might be some signs that you might need a soul healing work? I usually look for a repeating pattern of sabotage or self-sabotage. So are you always getting into the same relationships and they're always playing out the same way? There might have been an event that happened that sort of sets you up to stay stuck in that pattern because you can't move forward. Do you feel like there are bigger forces right now at play in whatever situation is coming up? Do you feel like, this isn't my problem, it's bigger than me. There's no reason why I'm afraid of dogs. But there was that one time as a kid when I was bit by a dog. Maybe it's still with me, So it feels like the situation that you're in right now, that your reaction to it is just bigger than it needs to be. That might be a sign that you need some soul healing work. And, of course, there's the obvious. Perhaps that there was this trauma and you just can't move past it because it's so deeply wounding. That would be a really good indication that you might need some soul healing work. So I think that's all I want to say right now about soul recovery, soul healing work. If you want to read more detail about it, I'll write a blog, check that out, and I'll see you again soon, I hope.